Hello there gang, and welcome to the first episode of Blast from the Past, a semi-regular series in which I should be taking a look at some of the classic games of yesterday and yesteryears of yonder. The thinking behind the series is that not only should the game be relatively easy to purchase, either via digital download or maybe still available on Amazon or eBay, some such places, but it should also still run well on modern systems, as that's not always the case with old games. So I thought we'd kick the series off, what with the recent release of Call of Duty World War II, with a look at the classic Call of Duty, the game that launched the cash cow franchise that we've all come to know and despise, and used to disparage people on forums with the "Go back to COD, kid" comments. Of course, back then this was quite a different story indeed. This was quite a technical powerhouse of innovation in its day. It really was. So let's have a look at the game proper. You had a lot of options. All your controls are rebindable. Graphic wise, not too many by today's standards. This was based, of course, on the upgraded version of the Quake engine. And it was released in 2003. It was made by Infinity Ward and published by Activision. Now, Infinity Ward had originally been part of the team behind the Medal of Honor series, a game series published by Electronic Arts. However, they wanted to push it to the next level, so they formed their own company, which was Infinity Ward, and this was the result. So did they succeed? Well, let's have a look. So of course you had your single player campaign, as well as multiplayer. Now this was the first surprise that I thought with the GameSpy servers not going down that multiplayer in Call of Duty would pretty much be the way of the dodo, but in fact it's still available. It's still there. However, you do have to set your expectations accordingly. It is of course a very old game, and as such there are people playing, but it's a bit of a ghost town. And there's some servers that have bots on, but I wouldn't base your purchasing decision around multiplayer alone, let's put it that way. So single player wise, yeah, you got quite a bit for your money. Now of course one of the first innovations of the series is you no longer played the single soldier of a single nation, but you played through various nations. You had of course the nation that won the war, the British, as well as the Americans, who sort of helped out in places, and of course those old commies, the Rusky Russians. And as I say, with the various types of campaign, mostly infantry, but there were a few on-rail sections where you're in a car or in the back of a truck, as well as levels where you take control of a tank. So it brought quite a lot of varied gameplay. And as I say, some of the missions were definitely based on reality, such as the Pegasus missions. If you look through the pictures that were taken for the Battle of Pegasus Bridge, the map layout, how they've done it, is pretty close to how it looked back in 1945. So yes, it's still very much arcade, and it's still sort of very much, a lot of it's fictional. The Russian campaigns especially are based around the Sniper at the Gates of Dawn. Sniper at the Gates of Dawn, Sniper at the Gates, the movie. Yeah, it's very, very much based on that film. Whereas more the British and American missions have a lot more of a grounding in reality and things that actually took place, such as Pathfinder, which we shall look at now. One thing to note, as I did mention how to get these games to run without too many problems, you might have to adjust it in the config file if you want it to run on a fully native resolution with your modern gaming monitors. It's only a 2-minute job. There's plenty of guides on the Steam forums how to do that. It's not hard at all. It's 2 minutes with a text editor, but they do not support modern native resolutions out of the box. It will be played with in a windowed mode with black bars if you don't adjust your config file. So let's dive on and try some of this single player. So yes, graphically, it's definitely showing its age there, that's for sure. Let's just zip up and shoot him like the dog he is. So, one of the other main things that was new to the game, as you just saw there, some slightly stuttery performance when I zoom in and out. That was one of the big innovations, was ADS, aim down sights on all weapons. Previous to this, most games other than a sniper rifle, you couldn't do that. You just had the crosshairs like that, and that was your lot for most weapons. This series, and you could aim down sights on everything. Also, the weapons are very nation specific, quite a good selection of authentic World War II weapons. Also, some of them had different firing modes, but also you had different levels of recoil. Guns actually had to be mastered back then in Call of Duty. As well as on top of that, yeah, you even had different bash animations. Even the weapons, the bash, you know, if you didn't hit a person square in the chest or the head, you wouldn't kill them necessarily. And even lean, look at that. Proning. And for the time, if it was against a wall somewhere, you couldn't necessarily lean it until you were blocked. Didn't do it there for some reason. But yes, graphically wise, it does show its age. It was not bad looking for its day. It was quite good, but nowadays, yeah, it doesn't really stand up to modern standards, of course. So to say, there's a lot of technical innovation in this game through the time. There's grenades, pistols, all faction specific. And in typical Call of Duty, it's still very linear and follow the star on the compass, and then press interact. The characters are now very low poly looking. There's quite a lot of good different animations. Up there with different wounded types and dying animations. And of course, yes, this is before the time when if you got injured, you just had to sit there sucking your thumb till you got better. If you get injured now, you need to find health kits still, health packs. Of course, like I say, that was the other big innovation, is you're no longer the single lone Rambo soldier. You now help from your chums. Modern smooth things such as sprint. There's no sprint or anything in this version of the game, unfortunately. And it's still a bit Call of Duty where you have to wait for someone to open the doors for you and that kind of thing. I'm only playing at a lower difficulty just to show you the game. It can get a bit more challenging if you have it at the higher levels. Quite damage. Pop a nade in there. Solve that problem. So all in all, so you know, you can swap out for your MP40 machine pistol. That has different handling from the others, although this is only the introduction level, so it's pretty much the end of the level there. It still has its own recoil patterns that you have to work on. So let's just go back to the main menu. That let you see the sort of standard of graphics and gameplay. I mean, all in all, the controls are smooth. So it's a bit of the odd stuttery performance, and you will have to adjust the config. But it was quite a different beast, and as I say, it brought a hell of a lot technologically wise to the gameplay market, with the AMD ADS, melee system, damage models, recoil patterns, all that to be mastered. Multiplayer was also, of course, a completely different beast back then and all, because none of this silly 6 versus 6 nonsense. It was 16 versus 16 for a full 32 players. There was even some modded servers that actually had up to 64, but with the maps that could be a bit crazy in places. The map sizes themselves were quite, they were quite decent. They were not massive like Battlefield games, but some of them were quite open and wide-spaced. Others were smaller, more urban, and of course it was very much class-based again. You might pick a rifleman, in which case obviously you only had your rifle and a couple of grenades. So you'd have your machine gunners, all this, they were different loadouts. Yeah, it was very much more historically based. No, it's still Call of Duty, so it's still arcade. It's not any sort of mil sim or historical act by any stretch of imagination. But yeah, for the day, I say it's this modern day and age, it's very easy to knock on the Call of Duty series, but in its day, you can understand why this was such a stellar success. Great storytelling, great game pacing, decent graphics for the time, excellent gun handling. Yeah, it really did give you a lot for the money. Which I suppose brings us to the issues today, is the money. I say this, it can be bought on Steam, and it is £15. £15. Now, if the multiplayer was more active, I'd probably say that's actually not too bad for what you get. But as I did mention, multiplayer these days is, it's a little bit ghost towny. So the £15 seems a little bit on the pricey side, really. However, it is worth noting there is a Call of Duty War Chest edition. Now that gives you the Call of Duty, this version. It also gives us the Call of Duty United Offensive, which is the expansion pack, and Call of Duty 2, the following up game for the series. We'll take a quick look at both of those in the course of this Blast from the Past series soon. Now that's only £20, and if you're willing to wait for a Steam sale, you can get it for even less. Although do notice it is published by Activision, and they're not known for their big discounts. However, even for £20, if you wanted to buy it now, that's a lot of game for your money. A lot of good campaigns, multiplayers, some of the classic. Back then, when it is a classic game, so it can say if you ramp up the difficulty levels, it's a lot harder. You have to take your time, use cover. You can't just stand in the open. Yeah, for that, I think it is worth it, to be honest with you, but just not as an individual game for £15. So anyway, gang, we'll conclude our episode of Blast from the Past here. This was Call of Duty, the original. Still a great game in its own right, I personally think. Hopefully you found this video useful or interesting in some way. And if you have, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to let me know you're alive. I'll see you all next time. Bye now.